What's up, everyone? Justin here, back with a new episode of The List, where I am going to talk about and give my thoughts on the latest episode 3 of Dark Side of the Ring. Last night I watched it. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be just dead honest as I can be, giving my thoughts on this episode. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even care to watch it. I was not interested, I was not excited, I was not curious to even fucking watch it and care enough, because I don't give a fuck about this guy, Nick Gage. I don't care about him. I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of the companies he has worked for. I never have watched any of his matches. This is the most I've seen of Nick Gage, is the fucking clips and highlights they had of him in this episode. That is the most I've ever seen of the fucking guy. Now, the guy's an addict. That is obvious. And that sucks. I feel sorry for the guy. Trust me, I know addicts. I've had a lot of alcoholics in my family. 2 of them have sadly passed away in their early 40s. One, my father. Another, my uncle. And that's very sad to think about. I could get emotional thinking about it. And my dad was not a good guy. He was a criminal. He was a con man. He stole from a lot of people. Stole money, ripped off people. Was not a great father, but he did get me into pro wrestling. He is the reason I became a fan. He got me into it. So I will always be grateful to my dad for that, for making me a wrestling fan for life. And he did take me to my first ever live events, house shows in the late 80s, WWF house shows. So I will always be grateful that I at least had a father in my life, and that him and me had a love and a great interest for pro wrestling. But again, he's not a good guy. He hit my mom a few times. He was in and out of jail a few times. Anyways, enough about my father. But he's passed away, sadly, and my uncle, because of alcohol addiction. So, anyways, I feel bad that Nick Gage had substance abuse problems. But he got himself into that. He got himself into taking all those fucking pills, getting hooked on pain pills. Shocker. I wonder why. Because the guy's fucking putting his body through fucking just insane pain and torture. For what? For what? I don't get it. I will never get it. I will never understand it. Why the fuck any deathmatch wrestler like him puts their body through that shit? Going through light tubes, glass, and just stupid shit. Just torturing your body, beating it to shit. For what? For fame? I don't think the guy's that goddamn well known. I never fucking heard of the guy, really. I never heard of Nick Gage before he fucking put a light tube in David Arquette's neck. Then I heard of the guy. But before that, I never fucking heard of him. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know he was famous. And to me, he's not. He's not famous. He's not a famous wrestler. And that is an insult to other wrestlers. To call Nick Gage a wrestler, he's not a wrestler. He's a fucking guy that does stupid shit for, like, probably not much money. I mean, I hope the guy made good money putting his body through all that shit, but the guy's not a millionaire. And look, I get it. I'm not putting down wrestlers that are not millionaires and cannot work for major companies and make a great living. But this guy's different. Nick Gage is a fucking moron. He's an idiot for what he's done to his body. How he wanted to become famous. He thinks he's a wrestler. In my opinion, he's not a wrestler because what he does is not fucking wrestling. The guy just tortures his body like for fucking shock value. Fucking death matches. They're pointless. They're done to shock fans, to see how to the extreme they can go. Well, it's fucking stupid. And this is from a guy, me, that loved ECW. Well, ECW was not garbage shit wrestling. It was not. Had a lot of great talent. ECW had a lot of great fucking talent that were great workers. And a lot of them, like the whole roster, just about, when ECW shut down, the whole fucking roster got signed. Just about by WWF. The only guy that you could say, I guess, was a deathmatch wrestler, in my opinion, he was not. He was just extreme and hardcore. Sabu. But Sabu could fucking wrestle. He could work. Nick Gage, in my opinion, cannot work. All he does is beat his body to shit. Break a fucking light tube over my head. Oh, I can work. I'm a wrestler. No, I'm not. And plus, I would never fucking do that to try to become famous. I guess Nick Gage has a following. I don't care. His followers and fans are stupid. You're stupid people. You're a bunch of idiots. You're a bunch of morons. I mean, it's okay if you want to cheer the guy and be a fan, but I don't get it. I will never be a fan of his. Look, I grew up a wrestling fan. I'm such a hardcore fan that I bought this VHS on Amazon right here. George Ammo Steel, VHS. There it is. Anyways, that's what a hardcore fan I am of wrestling. Not fucking deathmatch crap that Nick Gage has done. Nick Gage. What he has done is not wrestling. Period. Not at all. That, I'm talking about deathmatch crap, light tubes, glass, carving each other up with fucking scissors and pizza cutters on the head. That's not wrestling. Again, it's not wrestling what Nick Gage has done. That's not wrestling. That is garbage. That is trash. That is stuff that morons would watch. Idiots. Stupid people. Dumbasses. Dumb fucks with no brains would be a fan of Nick Gage. I don't get it. I truly don't get it. How the guy has fans for just beating his body to shit for like barely probably any money in front of like 50 to 100 people. And look, I love wrestling. And ECW was not crap, was not death match wrestling. At one point, Nick Gage says in the Dark Side of the Ring, he says and puts down ECW and says he loved it. But what he does, or what CZW and Nick Gage did, is more extreme, and ECW didn't have the balls to do it. And Nick Gage says everybody in ECW, they were a bunch of pussies. Okay, buddy. Okay. At least they were famous and got paid more and went to work for major fucking companies. Everybody that was a part of ECW when ECW started was either a legend like Terry Funk, Don Morocco, Jimmy Snuka. They were in the early days of ECW. Shane Douglas worked NWA, WWF, WCW before he became ECW champion. So everybody from ECW, when it started to throughout the years to when the company shut down, everybody a part of ECW either was already a wrestler, already worked for major companies, or after ECW got signed. They all were signed at one point by a major company. I wonder why Nick Gage never got signed by WWF, WWE, WWE, ECW, TNA, Impact Wrestling, ROH, AEW, just about every other major company. Why did they not sign Nick Gage? Because the guy's a fuck up. The guy's a moron. And in my opinion, he wouldn't draw a fucking dime for a major company. He wouldn't draw a fucking dime. Take a dime away, he wouldn't draw a fucking penny. In my opinion, he wouldn't draw a penny. A part of AEW, ROH, Impact, WWE, NXT, Nick Gage, a part of those companies, wouldn't draw a fucking dime. And if he ever did get a contract from a major company, that would be shocking. And he wouldn't deserve it. I don't care what he's put his body through. The guy's a fucking moron, idiot. He's an idiot for doing all that shit. And yeah, you were stupider and more dumb than ECW wrestlers to put your body through more torture than they did. And then at one point in the Dark Side of the Ring, he talks about, well, Big Death, whatever the fuck it's called, King of the Death Match, or I forget what it's called. I don't care. I never followed CZW. I know some good talent has worked there, but they fucking left and got out of there and went to major companies. So, anyways, at one point, the King of the, I don't know what the fuck they called it, Tournament of Death or King of the Death Match. Anyways, at one point in the Dark Side of the Ring, this wrestler from Germany, I think his name was Thumbtack or whatever the fuck his name was. I don't really care. I don't remember everybody's name in the Dark Side of the Ring. Watching it, this episode made me fucking angry. And seeing all the shit he put his body through, all the fucking crap, all the light tubes, the fucking glass, windows and doors, a fire. He got himself set on fire because he's a fucking moron. And he's tried to stop, drop, and roll, and it didn't work. Shocker, because you were fucking... a big-ass fire was on your back, on your t-shirt. You're not going to put that shit out unless you get water thrown on you. So, during the King of the Death match, Nick Gage got thrown through a ring of fucking light tubes. Light tubes around the whole ring ropes. That was absolutely crap and embarrassing. That was an embarrassment. That is an embarrassment to wrestling. To do death matches like that, with the ring surrounded by light tubes. First off, there's fucking chemicals in the light tubes, the dust. They're all breathing that in, and the fans that are there. Not the fans, the morons that are there. You're breathing in chemicals. That shit's going to give you cancer in 10 to 15 years. So anyways, and I don't consider ECW death match wrestling because it was not. They never broke light tubes over each other's fucking heads. Never in ECW. They never went so far as what fucking Nick Gage has done. Because ECW wasn't run by fucking morons. They never use light tubes, and I'm fucking glad. Thank God. Because that would have pissed me off watching it. But back to Dark Side of the Ring, Nick Gage. So the guy gets thrown through the ropes of light tubes, and shocker, he gets stabbed and cut under his armpit, like right about here. He gets cut up and stabbed in blood. The camera guys. First off, if I was a camera guy, I wouldn't even fucking work there. They could pay me $1 million. I would not shoot that crap that they call wrestling. So-called wrestling. That's not wrestling. Anyways. Nick Gage thinks he's so famous and has a great following. Maybe he does. I don't care. I could care less about the guy or his following. But let's say he has some fame. First off, if he's known on Wikipedia or the internet as a professional wrestler, that is an embarrassment and a disgrace. Somebody should change his Wikipedia to garbage wrestler, not professional wrestler. Because he's not a professional. He's a moron. He's an idiot. He's a dumbass. He's a fucking stupid fucking idiot. He made his career out of being a moron and putting his body through insane pain and torture for little to no money and in front of little to no fans. So he gets stabbed with a light tube. Shocker. You don't fucking... What do you expect is going to fucking happen, you moron? You get thrown by another guy through light tubes. You're probably going to get fucking stabbed, and they're going to break in half and stab you. You're lucky you didn't get stabbed in the fucking neck and die right there immediately. So he's being shot by a camera guy. He's like blood. He has a Bulls jersey. Jordan, I think is a Jordan jersey on. I hope Jordan didn't see him wear that, because I would have been angry if I was Jordan, seeing a crap garbage wrestler wear my jersey. The Bulls jersey, it was white. It is soaked in red and blood. He's bleeding out, bleeding out, bleeding out. He's about to die. He's backstage saying, I want to go out there. I want to go out there. And I don't care if you think I'm making fun of the guy. I don't care, because I think he's a moron. And this is my show, and I'm going to give my thoughts on him. So the guy's like begging to go back out to the ring. I'm going to finish the fucking match. I want to finish the match. I'm tough. I want to finish. I don't care if I'm bleeding out. I'm going to drop dead. I don't care. Yeah, you don't care about your own life. You're a moron. I love life, and I want to live. That's why I would never be a death match wrestler. Instead of being famous as a death match wrestler, I would rather fucking be on YouTube making wrestling videos and never become famous. And I'm not doing this to try to become famous. I'm just a fan with a small little wrestling channel. But I'm just saying, I'd rather be on YouTube with 100 followers than be Nick Gage and well known. I don't care if I wouldn't want to be well known for what he's known for. So the guy basically they say, no, 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 you're not going back out there. You're bleeding out. You're bleeding to death. And then he tells the camera, you fucking know I want to go back out there and they won't let me. You put this on the video or you record this. Then he gets airlifted. They couldn't get an ambulance to the fucking farmland where a bunch of fucking moron Hicks hillbillies showed up for this tournament of death. They had to do it in a fucking field because no building would probably allow it. You fucking morons. So he gets airlifted by an ambulance and he dies. He's dead for 7 minutes. Somehow they brought him back. Anyways, on to the Dark Side of the Ring episode. Then, because he's so beat up and in so much fucking pain, and he's so beaten to shit, his body, that he gets hooked on the thing Percocet type of pill, or then he gets hooked on Oxycontin pain pills. Those are fucking bad. Don't get hooked on Oxycontin. I mean, I've took a few in my life for pain when I've had teeth pulling or toothaches or something like that. But I never got hooked on because I'm not an addict. But I understand anybody could get hooked on pain pills, Oxycontin. Many do, and many OD on them. Again, that's their problem. That's their fault. I knew enough to stop taking fucking Oxycontin. All I needed was like one. And I had like a full bottle of like 30. All I took was like 2 to 3. The rest of the bottle, I fucking poured down the toilet. So anyways, he gets addicted to painkillers and Oxycontin. Then he can't, or then he doesn't, or he can't afford Oxycontin pills anymore, says this stupid wrestling promoter for Game Changer Wrestling. I'm not even going to say that company's name again because he doesn't deserve it. His company is shit, and it's crap. It's garbage wrestling. It's death match wrestling and nothing else. And I don't care if he does have other wrestling. His company is shit, and the guy's a moron. So he says Nick Gage couldn't afford Oxycontin anymore. So he went to heroin because it's cheaper to shoot up heroin. So he got hooked on heroin. Then he's a big drug addict. He could not get off of drugs, sadly. He could not get off them. So then he decided he was broke and he was homeless. Have you ever heard? Let me ask you this, and you can answer it at home. Have you ever heard of a professional wrestler becoming homeless? Professional wrestlers are supposed to make good money. If you're a professional and if you are a professional and if you are any good at your fucking job as a pro wrestler, you should not ever become homeless or about to become homeless. I can't imagine that as a pro wrestler that you would become homeless. But he did. The drugs, all his money was spent on drugs, sadly. So then he's broke and he's homeless. Again, the guy, to me, is not a professional wrestler because if you think he is, fine. I don't. But the guy was homeless. So how famous was he that he became homeless? And I get it, he blew all his money on drugs. And that is sad. But that was all his doing. That was his addiction, his fault, his problem. So he had a girlfriend in high school and she stayed with him somehow. The poor woman has stayed with him to this day. she's still his girlfriend. But he was homeless. Then he broke in, I guess, his promoter's house. And the guy found him on the floor, yelled at him, "Get out of my house." I don't blame him. He was pissed. He threw him outside, told him to get out. It was 10 degrees out. Nick Gage is pissed. He was really mad that he got thrown out. And let me just tell you this, promoters, if you're a wrestler, promoters are not your friend. They're not your friend. They're not supposed to be. They're your fucking boss. So he's outside, he doesn't know where to go, he sees a bank, he wants to rob it, and then he pussies out, he says. He says, "I pussied out. The next bank I see, I'm not gonna pussy out." And then he goes into the fucking next bank, and he decides to fucking rob it. Without a fucking mask on. What a fucking moron. That's how stupid this guy is. Not just as a so-called wrestler that he thinks he is. He's so stupid, he robbed a bank without a mask. And look, I will never rob a bank or any store. I'm not a criminal. But if I was a criminal, I would fucking cover my face. For God's sake. Like, hello, criminals out there, be smart. Don't fucking rob places, but if you're gonna, wear a fucking mask, you morons. So he leaves the bank, he's on camera, it's Nick Gage as the bank robber. And he doesn't turn himself in, I guess. He says he went to Atlantic City, gambled all the money away, and said, "I'm going to have a blast for a couple days and enjoy myself until I turn myself in." And then he turned himself in, I guess, a couple days later. He served like 4 years in prison out of 5 years. He was sentenced, I believe, to 5 years. He served 4 of them. Then he gets out after 4 years. And he seems clean and sober. And the stupid promoter is going to use him for his company. For the, I guess, the promoter wants to use him again in a death match or tournament of death. And then he fucks up again and goes back to his past of addiction. So then he fails a drug test, urine test, he fails it. So he has to serve, I believe, a year in jail. So he does his time, gets out after a year, and has not gone back to jail. But at one point he had a match with his brother. I think it was CZW, I'm not sure. But he had a match with his brother. His brother was a champion, I guess. And at least I will say about his brother, it's very sad that his brother committed suicide, jumped off a bridge to get away from the cops, I believe, because he stole a car. And he's running from the cops. Anyways, his brother at least looked like a wrestler and was built and had a look. Nick Gage does not have a look. He looks like a fucking homeless guy wrestling. He looks like a fucking nobody off the street in street clothes with absolutely no physique, no body. Looked like he never saw a gym in his life. And yes, he did work out when he was in jail. He said he worked out a lot, lost weight, got some muscle. But still, he doesn't have much muscle. He doesn't look like a wrestler to me. He is not a wrestler to me. He will never be a wrestler to me. And he says during the end of the episode, he does not think he's going to live long. He thinks his time is up pretty damn soon. Sadly, he did lose his mother to breast cancer. That is sad. I feel bad for him for the losses that he's had in his life. And for him getting addicted to drugs. That's awful. I know what losing family members is like. It fucking sucks. Again, I've lost my father to addiction and my uncle to addiction. When my father passed, my uncle was really became a father figure to me. He was great to me. Took me up north. We went snowmobiling. And in the summer times, he took me up north. He had a cottage house. And we went jet skiing and boating and fishing. My uncle was fucking great to me. He was like the father I never had. Even though I did have a father, but my uncle was truly great to me and was like a father when my father passed. He became my father. And then my father passed in on 92 in September, and then sadly my uncle passed in December 96. So I only had about 4 years with a father figure that was my uncle. He was a great man. He was a great guy. He was an alcoholic, and he did hit me a few times, I think twice, or I don't remember. I block it out. I don't want to think about it. But he did abuse me about 2 to 3 to 4 times. With physical abuse, with his fists and shit like that. So, just physical abuse, but still, it was not good. If you got an addict in your family, I pray and I hope you're never abused by them, or you were not. Because being abused is not fun. So, yeah, and if you're an addict and you're watching this, don't fucking abuse people like friends or family. Don't fucking abuse them. And don't put them through hell. Get some fucking help. And I hope Nick Gage has gotten help for his addiction. I hope he goes to fucking AA meetings. I hope he has a sponsor to talk to. I hope he doesn't get hooked back on drugs. But then, again, he says he doesn't think he's going to live very long. That's kind of cryptic. I don't know why he thinks that, but he says he's 40 years old. And the guy looks about 60. He is 40, but he looks fucking 60. Or at least 55 years old. Looks really beat up, really run down, and holy fuck, he's 40. If he is 40, I'm 37. I look fucking 20 compared to him. Or I would think at 40 I will look like 30, and he looks about 60. That is not good. Look. This is a public service announcement. Look at kids. Don't fucking worship and don't have Nick Gage as your hero. The guy's just beating his body up so badly, and he became an addict. You don't want to be like him. He does not look 40. He looks 60. Because of what he put his body through, and addiction. Vince McMahon is 74 or 5 years old. Well, Vince McMahon to me looks better than Nick Gage at 40. So, yeah, he says he's 40. And then let's get to his match against David Arquette, which was a fucking mess and a fucking nightmare for David Arquette. And if I was David Arquette, I would have fucking walked out. David Arquette was pissed. He got stabbed with light tubes, and shocking, it stabbed him in the neck and was stuck in his fucking neck. And Nick Gage tried to play it down and say, oh, he wasn't even stabbed bad. It was a little bit of blood shooting out. It wasn't even like a total hole. He wasn't going to bleed out according to Nick Gage. Well, fuck that. That shit was fucking scary. That was scary. Watching that video on Twitter when I saw it, that shit was fucking scary for David Arquette. And I was like, holy fuck, the guy could fucking die and might be in the hospital right now fucking dying. Or dead already. Watch David Arquette's documentary, by the way, about him getting back into wrestling. It's called You Can't Kill David Arquette. It's really good. It's a good documentary. But Nick Gage, according to him, David Arquette was fine having a light tube sticking out of his fucking throat and stuck in there. But he was fine. Yeah, I'm sure he felt fine. So Arquette was pissed. He was mad. And he said, I do not. He had dinner with, I didn't know this, in the Dark Side of the Ring. They said they had dinner together the night before. David Arquette took him to a good restaurant in L.A., bought him steaks on him. Like, what the fuck? He pays for your dinner and then you treat him like that? You're a fucking scumbag piece of fucking shit. Just because you wanted it to look so real, that's why you fucking treated David Arquette like that? Just because you wanted to beat the fuck out of him? So the fans could see you really beat the fuck out of an actor that was like well over 40, not in his prime, and not a pro wrestler. But I will say, and give David Arquette credit, actually, he is a better wrestler than you will ever be Nick Gage. You're not a wrestler. You're not a professional. You're a fucking amateur that is just, I don't know what you're into. You're into feeling pain and pushing the limits. Well, you're a moron. At least David Arquette, I know, respects wrestling and treated it as a sport and was respectful to everybody he worked with before you. So anyways, David Arquette's pissed. In the dinner they had the night before, this fucking nightmare mess and embarrassment of a wrestling match. It wasn't wrestling, a death match. Before this death match happened, David Arquette says, I don't think David Arquette understood what a death match meant with this garbage wrestler, Nick Gage. I don't think David Arquette understood. He's like, yeah, I might get beat up and cut up a little. Big deal. But holy fuck, he got way more than cut up. He could have fucking been killed. And you could have been charged with murder. So David Arquette says to him in the dinner, I understand. I'm going to bleed and get cut. But David says, man, please do not cut me. Do not fucking cut me in the ring. Do not slice my head open with a razor blade or a piece of glass. Please don't cut me. And Nick Gage agreed. He won. Well then, this is after the damn glass was stuck in David Arquette's neck, he was pissed. I think he pulled it out, and then he was holding his neck like this the rest of the match, probably to cover it with their fingers or hands so the fucking blood doesn't shoot out and so you don't bleed to death. That's when Sid was stabbed by Arn Anderson a ton, and they were stabbing each other, I guess, with scissors, but I don't know who got stabbed more, but Sid was bleeding out, or I think it was Sid. Vader put his thumb in the fucking hole in Sid so he wouldn't bleed out. Vader saved his life. So, I don't know. If you're ever around somebody and they're bleeding out, put a finger in their hole to stop the blood from coming out. Or put your hand over the wound so they don't fucking die. So, I don't know. A thumb would probably be the best to put in a fucking wound so the person doesn't die you're trying to help. Because the thumb is the biggest finger on the hand. I'm not a doctor, but I don't know. Maybe the thumb would stop all the bleeding instead of fingers. So, David Arquette's pissed. He's holding his neck. He throws a chair. I think it had light tubes on it. He throws a chair at Nick Gage and hits him really hard with it because David Arquette is pissed. And he's like, this guy is not being professional at all. I can't trust him. David Arquette even said, I can't fucking trust this guy anymore because he didn't give a fuck about me. And then he cuts Arquette's head with a pizza cutter over and over and over. Arquette really got pissed at that because he told him to not fucking, please don't do that to me. But instead, the scumbag did it. Tried to slice his head open so we could see the bones on his forehead. And then he puts it even in his mouth, the damn pizza cutter. I'm sure David Arquette did not enjoy that. If he tried to do that shit, if Nick Gage tried to do that shit to me and I was a wrestler, I'd beat his fucking ass. So anyways, Arquette was pissed, but he was beat up. He probably knew I can't beat up this guy, but he hit him as hard as he could with a chair, and Nick Gage then flips him over with like an arm drag, arm bar, judo throw, and Nick Gage covers him and yells at him, you stay down, if you don't stay down, I'm going to beat your ass again. So David Arquette takes a 3 count, still holding his neck, gets up, gets out of the ring, looks very mad and pissed off. And Nick Gage then is mad and says he took off in the car with Luke Perry. He took off. Mad. Of course he is fucking mad. You tried to kill him, you moron. So this Dark Side of the Ring, episode 3, it was infuriating. Watching it, it got me pissed. It got me angry. That type of death match wrestling Nick Gage is a part of, that is not fucking pro wrestling. That is not sports entertainment. That is not entertainment. That is crap. That's garbage. That's trash. That's shit. That's embarrassing. That's an embarrassment to the professional wrestling industry and business. That is just absolute fucking trash. It's trash. It is just trash. And some claim, oh, it's like a living horror movie. And, no thank you. I don't need to see that shit. I don't need to see a living fucking horror movie in wrestling. Because that's not what wrestling should be about, and never, ever, wrestling, I mean, let's go back to the first NWA champion, 1903. They wrestled. Do you fucking think any professional wrestler, do you ever think they would think in their head, oh yeah, let's do a death match? No, because they don't get into wrestling to do death matches. You only get into death match wrestling shit that Nick Gage has done. You only get into that shit if you are too pathetic and you just don't have it and you can't fucking make it as a pro wrestler. That is not talent. Getting into what Nick Gage has done, that is not talent. That takes 0.0 talent. find a guy off the street and go up to him. Let's say I go up to a homeless guy, say, hey, you want $1,200 tonight to bleed a little and do a death match? You want to do a death match? They would probably agree. People off the fucking streets would agree to do a death match unless they had brains. Obviously, Nick Gage doesn't have any brains. He beat all his fucking brain cells out of his head before he was hired by CZW. He started a backyard wrestling company, and they showed footage of it, and him and his friends were bleeding and fucking bladed or got busted open the hard way on a fucking trampoline that was surrounded by barbed wire. What fucking morons. I think he grew up in New Jersey and he started his own backyard wrestling company. Well, that's where he should have stayed, in the fucking backyards. Because he will be nothing to me, nothing more than a backyard trash garbage wrestler. Fuck Nick Gage and what he does. I don't like it, and I never will. Again, I'm not a hypocrite because I loved ECW. ECW was not garbage wrestling. It was not. It was not matches with a ring surrounded by light tubes. That was not what ECW is about. It's about great promos, great wrestling, realistic, real life type storylines, reality based storylines, great talent that put on great matches. Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, RVD, Shane Douglas, so many greats, Taz, Bam Bam Bigelow. They all put on great matches. Yes, their matches a lot broke tables. They broke tables, and they used chairs, and sometimes barbed wire, and sometimes flaming tables. But I don't consider that death match wrestling what ECW did. They were different. They were good hardcore wrestling. What Nick Gage has done, places he has worked, their companies, those companies are shit and garbage companies. So like, comment, share, subscribe. If you like this episode, the list, me talking about the Nick Gage Dark Side of the Ring episode, I had to fucking talk about it. It got me so fired up watching it. Every time I saw him being thrown through light tubes or set on fire or bleeding out, I fucking was yelling at the TV, you fucking moron. You fucking moron. So anyways, again, like, comment, share, subscribe. Bye for now.